In this quick training, we're going to take a look at how you can work with fields inside of SmartSuite. So if that's of interest, stick around and let's get into it. Let's go ahead and jump into my screen here and take a look at working with fields inside of SmartSuite. Any single column inside of this grid view that I'm working in here is a field. A field is simply a place where we store information for a record. So, for example, if I were to create a new record here, you see that by doing so, I have the ability to fill out information in every single field, from due date, status, priority, assigned to, etc. Every single field has its own settings. So really quickly, you'll notice that if I try to click out of this title here, it's going to tell me that the title is required for this particular field. We're going to take a look at that feature, but before I can move on, let me just put a quick title in here. I'll say example. Now that I've put a title in here, I'm able to move around and we can actually look at the settings for this particular field by clicking here and going to modify the field settings. Here you'll notice that for this particular title field, we have the option to require entries to be unique and also to require an entry in the field. Because this is checked, then it requires that information is put in that field before I can do anything else, which you just saw. I also want to point out that with fields, you can simply drag and drop to reorder them inside of your setup. So if I want to move assigned to all the way to the right, I simply click the header here, drag it all the way over, and release. Another cool feature about fields is we can pick exactly what shows up in our view here by clicking on Fields to Display here on the toolbar of the view. By clicking here, you'll notice that there are a number of fields here on the left-hand side, specifically auto number, description, first created, etc., that I could include over on my selected fields. I can also reorder my selected fields by clicking and dragging them here, and that will have effect on the view itself. So if I want to include more fields or I want to exclude certain fields, I can include them by bringing them over from the list on the left, or I can exclude them by Xing them out from the list on the right. And you'll notice that the view here is going to replicate whatever I've displayed in my fields to display. Every field has its own unique settings, depending on the field type. So this assigned to field, if we were to look at the modify field settings selection, you'll see that the settings here are unique to this particular field type. One setting that is very common is the fact that we can require an entry in the field, as we've already demonstrated. So if we were to look at a different field type, for example, priority, and modify the field settings here, you'll notice that the settings here are very different because this is a single select field instead of the assigned to field, but we still have the option to require an entry in this field. Many fields have multiple types of display that are available for that field. For example, here I'm in this single select field and I have the drop-down display selected. I could, though, determine to use radio buttons instead, and in making this update, the way that the field appears is going to be vastly different. By saving the radio buttons, I've now altered the way the field will display for different use cases. One more thing to talk about in fields is the help setting within a field. Again, go to Modify Field Settings to access the help text, and this allows creators to give a description as to what this field's purpose is for other users who will be accessing it inside the solution. For example, I could say this is a single select field. And once I've updated those changes, anyone who accesses the field in the future will see that information in the help text. You'll notice that it's also displayed when users hover over a help icon that is displayed next to the field. So this help text is just one more tool in your toolkit to help your users get the most out of SmartSuite. If you have any questions about what we covered in this training, please ask them below in the comments section of this video. And until then, we'll see you in the next training.